Thank you. Again, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Middlesex County Board of Supervisors for the August 6, 2024 meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Here.
Mr. Crittenton,
Here.
Mr. Jesse,
Here.
Mr. Don Harris.
Here. I'd like to ask Reggie, would you lead us in a prayer, please? Mr. Williams?
Okay. Let us pray. Father, once again, we call on your holy name, Father. Once again, you have let us wake up this morning and see the noonday hour once again. Father, now we got to handle county business, Father, and be with us, Father, and strengthen us that what we do and what we say, that it won't be misunderstood, but it'll be understood. And it'll show growth. And most of all, it'll show your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ms. Riccardi, would you lead us in the pledge, please? All right, we have a lot of things on the agenda today, and I'd like to get out of here before 11 o'clock, so I'm going to keep this thing moving and moving pretty well. With that, a motion would be in order to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second it. Motion made by Mr. Williams and second by Mr. Jesse. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Crittenton,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye. Motion carried. Like to now open the floor for public comments.
Would you like me to read the?
Yes, I would.
Okay, good. General requirements today. Each speaker will give his or her name and address for the record. All comments are to be addressed to the Board of Supervisors. Comments from individuals are allowed 3 minutes each. Comments from speakers representing a group must represent 4 or more individuals, and they are allowed 12 minutes to make their presentation.
Great. Mr. Perkinson, you have the floor.
Area. The folks in that area would appreciate it if you would appoint Mary Beth Culbertson to the airport committee to represent them. Just to refresh the board's memory, 46 people with homes in the area of the airport sent the board a letter in December 2019 asking for 2 reps to be appointed to represent people impacted by the airport in the vicinity of the airport. The committee has 7 members, so we didn't think that's a huge ask with it. So we would appreciate the first installment of that for 1 person tonight when you make the appointments. And hopefully Ms. Culbertson gets some consideration, and we work towards the second one in the future. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good meeting.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close the public comments. We'll move to constitutional officers. Treasurer report, pages 48 to 52. Any comments? Commissioner of Revenue, report only, page 53. Moving right along, Sheriff's Office. Mr. Bushy, are you coming forward with that?
Yes, sir. So we applied for the Bird Justice Grant. And that grant was to get the body cameras for when we move into the Puller Center and the gear that we would need for that. The grant does have a 25% match. They did award us the grant. And the total for that grant is $27,320, and the local match would be $6,830. Because it is you have to match it. Matt had suggested I come before the board so that you know that you would have to match that portion of it. The other part that's not included in the grant would be the training to train the officers and who we have in the records room that will be sending everything out to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. We contacted that company. It's going to be about $2,000 to send somebody down to train. So we know we're going to have to grab that. So we know how to use the equipment properly. But I could work that mostly out in my budget, I think, that training part. Other than that, if there's any questions about it, we've decided it has to be signed now, but we're not going to purchase it until later in the year because it comes with 9 months of the cloud where we send it to a forensics cloud and it's all paid there. After that, then we have to pick up that yearly fee on it. So we want to take full advantage of it. If we purchase it now, we're not in the building, we can't use it. It's just going to sit on the desk and we're going to lose the 9 months. So we'll purchase it somewhere around February.
And
Any
Mr.
questions?
Chairman, if I may, I just want to congratulate Sheriff Bushy on getting this grant. I know we've been working towards the goal of providing body cameras for our police officers for quite some time. And congratulations getting the grant, David. Good job.
Questions for Sheriff Bushy? I have a couple. The equipment that you're purchasing, how many pieces of equipment is it? Is it for all of your officers or is it for just the ones that are on the street? And is that reusable if somebody else has that shift?
So it'll be for all the officers on the road. The court personnel they don't need it there. The administration staff doesn't need it. The detectives won't be using it. It will be for the road deputies. It's 16 camera sets.
And talking about the grant, it's already been approved.
It's
And-
approved, yes, by DCJS.
Okay, and is there any critical date on that particularly?
Yes, we have to sign it by next week. I think it is the deadline, I believe on there. We typically like to get it signed right away. They give you a deadline and we decided to bring it before the board because we normally get 100%. This is a 25 where the county has to match. So that's why we brought it before the board.
Okay. In the future, we like to have a little days to digest things. So the quicker you can get those requests, the better it all is for us in our determination. Just asking you to keep that in mind.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any other discussion? Any other questions? A motion would be in order if you want to approve this request.
I move that the request be approved.
I second it.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Crittenden, second by Mr. Jesse. Any other questions or discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye, motion's approved. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sheriff, for being
Right.
here today.
Yes, sir.
Great. Item number 5, agency and staff reports. BDOT is on page 56 to 58. Any discussion? If not, schools, no report. Social services report only, pages 59 and 60. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Middlesex County Sheriff's Office, Ben Burton. Building renovation update and change order request. Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ben Burton. I'm a senior engineer at Bay Design Group. What we have prepared and submitted to the board is really just an update on the construction status. Back in the first paragraph there that you've seen on the report, back in mid-May, the contractor really got started, mobilized, has completed the asbestos removal. I think you've seen when you visited the site about 2 weeks ago that the majority of the building interior demolition has been completed. They've begun ordering major HVAC materials. Infrastructure work has begun on the exterior. And also there have been requests for information to get directions from myself, from Sheriff Bushy, from Jim Nagy, as representatives of the county on how to handle discovered hidden issues. And they've coordinated various formal progress meetings. They've happened in early June, late June, and most recently last week. The construction, they've submitted 3 applications for payment. They total, the latest one was last Tuesday for about $297,000. Total of the 3 to date have been just a little over $427,000, about 13% of the $3.3 million contract. The retainage is being held. We've recommended that it be paid, and I believe Mr. Nagy has passed that along to the county administrator for the approval of that payment, of the third payment. The other 2 have been made. As I mentioned earlier, there have been several RFIs, requests for information, on how to handle certain design issues that have come up. Several of these design issues talked about discovered information, hidden situations that required change orders. To date, there have been approved 4 change orders. 3 of them have been credits. One of them for the asbestos caulk around windows has been approved. Those first 4 that have been approved have resulted in just a little over $7,500 credit to the county. Since that point in time, we've had 5 other change orders that have come through for water system changes, some additional piping, some above the ceiling demo for old grids and fans and walls that had to be removed that were inadvertently left in place when the county expanded things earlier, some underground plumbing changes, and an additional roof drain. One of those, which you see on the memorandum number 6, is an item that the board has actually asked for before. It was a bid edition number 1. We had asked the bidders to bid on putting concrete pipe in a ditch, so rather than leaving an open ditch, so that if the county decided in the future to come in and add some more parking spaces to serve that whole complex area, not only the sheriff's office, animal control, and the various recreational facilities that are happening out there, that could easily be done. That is change order number 6. So it's a change order because the contract was originally signed without that being authorized by the county. County authorized it, asked them to include it in the project. So this is taken everything into effect. So basically what we're asking for today, and the sheriff, Mr. Nagy, and I have all recommended approvals of these 5 new change orders. I believe they're sitting in Mr. Walker's hands for formal approval, pending the board's approval of the authorization that these be moved ahead. You have any questions about any of them? Yes, sir.
Number 6. How long is that gonna be? Because I remember talking about it at first, and you said it's gonna
About
be,
200 feet of pipe.
and that goes how far, where it starts from where it ends up at?
The entrance to the animal control
Okay,
center, and it goes back down the ditch about 200 feet to the entrance to the skateboard park.
oh,
That's the limits of that.
they didn't want to take it all the way out to the road, to the drain. Because y'all had some landscaping, ditch work y'all was gonna do, and that's when it came up. Instead of doing all the, all the grading and all them kind of things that maybe putting a COVID might would take care of, and we also could use it for parking later on. And now what you're saying that it's on, if I'm looking at the facility, the playground or whatever,
The
that's
ditch,
on the it'll be to the right,
yes,
and we have nothing done to the left. They still gonna grade
Okay,
that down? or
it's-
something like that?
it's to the left as you're coming in.
Yes,
That's where we're gonna add that additional pipe. They've already dug that ditch that was necessary for the
drain,
drainage for the sheriff's office.
right.
There, if with approval of this change, they'll put the pipe in and fill back over it. And then it'll be in shape to add any future parking. If you decide that you want any more parking out there, they're going to be about in the front of the sheriff's office. There's something on the order of, if I recall correctly, something on the order of 30 to 40 public parking spaces already that'll be created as part of the sheriff's office. The addition of this pipe just gives the opportunity for an easy expansion of more parking should the county see that it's necessary to serve the recreation area or anything like that.
When you first come in, when you turn off 33, on the left-hand side, y'all didn't have any grading work to do to that at
No,
all,
sir.
0? Okay,
No, none up that far.
okay.
Any other questions?
These change orders, are they gonna require any re-engineering and everything like that? It's pretty much straightforward for the contract.
They're all straightforward. The engineering to get them done has been done and reviewed, and all the design team, as well as Mr. Najee and the sheriff have looked at them. So with the approval of these, the contractor moves ahead with the actual work.
And is there any fees built into this for that extra design?
Excuse me?
Are there any fees built in, extra fees for your design company?
Turn your mic on.
Are there any extra fees for that design work that had to be redone?
No, sir. The
Okay.
Bay Design Group is under contract with the county on a hourly basis to provide construction administration support to the sheriff and to Mr. Nagy. So far, the changes of these are included in that, any engineering for that. It's
Thank
already included.
And just to be clear, Ben, we're talking about accepting the total of 1 through 9 change order, is that correct? In the amount of 33,901?
Yes, that's the net amount of them.
That's what you're asking for.
The approval is for 5 through 9. 1 through 4 have already been approved.
Okay. So,
So your total of the pending COs is $41,431.
okay. Wonderful. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, well, that's why I was questioning.
That's
It's
that's the net when you take into account the credits involved with the first 4 plus the additions of.
75/30, I'm guessing, for our left-hand side. Okay, what's your pleasure? Is there a motion to be made here?
I so move.
So moved Wayne Jesse on the motion for the change orders for the sheriff's office,
I second it.
second by Bill Harris. Any further discussion?
One question. Is this money coming from the loan money or is it coming from the, where's it coming from? The loan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we closed on the loan the other day, Mr. Williams. We could probably take it from the loan, but we'll keep track of all this because at the end of the project, we may need to dip into that contingency and the amount of money that was rolled over from last year. We'll let you know when we get to that stage.
It's my understanding that demolition probably exposes the most access to seeing change orders. Are we
do have
looking down the
some-
line at some more change orders from your experience, or, I know you can't answer that
Yeah,
100%.
they've exposed all the hidden things. There are some change orders that are being prepared as we speak for changes in the design. Some may involve credits, some may involve extra expenses, but they were all related to things that were discovered during the demolition and how to handle them. One of the things I think you saw, Mr. Harris, was the issue of the clerestory windows and what to have, how to handle them. In the project, the clerestory windows, the design of the project has indicated they should be completely removed. One of the things we're looking at is the option of placing a camera up in that plenum area so that the sheriff can monitor that space up there without taking the windows out. If that comes, as we're working through that, if that comes through, then this would be a credit, a change order credit, something we've discovered now, but we're still working through the options of what to handle. It's those type of things.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. For had the roll call on that. We're all about credits here.
I understand that.
We for
sir.
sure all about credits, and you already know what our propensity is to change orders. That being said, roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye. Motion is carried.
One of the other things I'd like to bring up is how to handle future change orders. Some of them can be very time sensitive in terms of the construction schedule. And if we have to, several of these came up obviously right before the board meeting, so it was easy to bring them before the board and get your approval. But there may be something that comes up in the future, next month or months down the road, that are time critical. And we wondered if there was a way that the board can approve or authorize the county administrator to move forward with change orders that are under a certain amount, say under $20,000, that we can move that ahead and give the contractor direct instructions and as to how to handle those time sensitive issues. It's something that we'd like your direction on.
You want to chime in on that, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, we discussed this briefly in the last coordination meeting. There was an example given of a particular contractor that if he could mobilize, like say, for instance, within a week, it would be one price, but because of workload and other circumstances, if it had to wait 3, 4, 5 weeks, then that number was substantially higher, by maybe a third additional cost because of just timing and things of that nature. And there may be things that could hold the project up that are relatively easily addressed. So what I'm comfortable with doing, if it's the board's pleasure, is if Ben approves it, Jim approves it, and perhaps most importantly, David's okay with it, or Sheriff Bushy, I would have no problem with a threshold of $20,000 and then update the board at the next meeting. Either myself or Ben update the board.
Discussion from board members?
you get a call, then to approve it, I think I get a call. Cause all of us got cell and computers now, so you really could do it the same day, but we should know about it before we have to come to the meeting. We should use, and that way, all of us on board, cause you said nay, I mean, you know, whatever it is.
If the
I
board's
can't
okay
speak
with
for
that, I'll be
everybody else,
happy to
but
call
if you
you.
get it, I don't mind getting it too, because I'm on a phone call away, say I gotta make a decision based on this. And I could say easy, say, and we ain't gotta bring it to the meeting, just go ahead, but I wanna know myself.
I'm completely comfortable with calling board members one by one and letting them know what's going on. I may even wrangle Jim or Ben to be with me when I do,
There's no problem.
especially if it needs a lot of explanation.
Mr. Crittenden?
Normally, when we handle these change orders, a PDF comes through and our mutual action on it goes by PDF to the county administrator to handle. So it would be easy to distribute a full copy of the change order to everyone, as well as talk to you individually as necessary.
Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't personally have a problem with if Mr. Walker could call you, notify you, let you know. If it's something that's very minor and you know that it's something that needed to be done right away, I don't have a problem with you making the decision. However, if you want to call the other, it'd be up to you to do that.
We're talking about $20,000 total or $20,000 max per change order.
We were talking 20,000 max per change order.
You guys want to digest it and talk about it at the next meeting?
Mr. Chair, I would just say, as long as you don't hold up the project, a lot of time things hold up, it costs you more money. But I think, my personal opinion is that, we got Matt and them there and he can let us be aware of what's going on. And that way it doesn't hold up anything, because time is money. And I just let you know that, you hold up something and it's gonna cost you more money. And then we gotta come run everything through the board, when some things can be already taken care of. And then, we can find out afterwards, or find out during that same time, maybe, and make a quick decision like that. I mean, that's just my opinion, because I don't want to hold up anything.
Let me ask a question. Do we not have a contingency here?
We have a self-funded contingency, yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's basically resting in the general fund balance, but we have it. And something Anne Marie and I may do is take that remaining amount of that and memorialize it in a set aside while the project's going on. That'll happen in a later meeting. And
Okay.
if I could just chime in a little
Quickly.
bit and extend on what Mr. Jesse just said. If we have 4 change orders that amount to $80,000, I'm going to be picking up the phone and calling all of you, because I recognize the sensitivity of that. I think that would probably be rare.
Well, you can see the first 10 have had a net total of 33,000, less than 1% on the contract. And the ones that we're expecting in the future will either be small ones, bollards at the card reader, so a card doesn't run into them. Potentially some credits, clear story windows and things like that. It's not, they're not going to be large. If it's large at this stage, I'd be very surprised.
I would also agree with Bill, or he was shaking his head, and I guess I was reading his mind. I don't have a problem with putting responsibility to you for 20,000 on a change order, which would take care of your small increments. But I wouldn't want that to, without the board's approval, to increase that again. So let's say we run out of 20, you run out of that 20 at some point, you're going to need to come back before the board and ask for another contingency for quick response of another 20 rather than 2020. We automatically just,
Understood.
you understand that?
So $20,000 threshold between board meetings.
Correct.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
And we're talking about 2 different kinds of change orders. We're talking about one that's a change order. It doesn't slow the project down. And we're talking about another change order, which should be very rare. I'm sure it can happen without any problem. It probably will, but to where we're slowing the project down. It's the only time Matt will be asked to act is when we have a change order that is going to slow the project down.
Time
He
sensitive,
won't be approving change orders that don't affect the time.
That's-
correct.
We're not,
And significantly, I'm not talking about a day or two here. We're talking about a month, 30 days. We don't want the project to be slowed down, definitely.
yeah, we just always worry about, we have this meeting and then tomorrow the three of us right there on the site and somebody says, oh, crap. What have I got?
I would say there probably will be some justification will probably be asked about what made it critical that we had to do it right away is all.
That'd be
And
fine.
keep, and when you say keep the project going, there'll probably be a little explanation asked so that we're prepared.
We'll keep the board and everyone involved.
Okay, do we need a motion on that?
Yeah,
Don,
just
before
for,
you, before you talk,
Yeah,
and I have a
what I-
clarification on that.
For clarification, yes. What I'm saying is that I want to know. I mean, I'm not saying change his mind, not slow the work down. I don't want to wait. In past practice, sometime, we get caught up in waiting and we do not get the communication. Now, for slowing the project or any project down, I'm pretty sure I'm just as quick as anyone up here, quicker than most to get things, wanting to get it done. But what I'm saying is that, why shouldn't you be able to call? It's not like you are saying, Matt, I don't want you to make the choice. The choice is made. The choice is already made. I'm saying, hey, just let me know the choice is made. So I'm not trying to slow the project down. I want to know what's going on. And if that's asking too much, I don't want to get confused at what I'm saying. We should want to know. Everybody on this board should want to know. We can fix it and question around, get a phone call or text, here, make a $100 million project, because down the road, if you make a mistake, then it's going to be on him. Say, but at least you know about it. And you might not, agree with, before it's slowing stuff down, I don't believe in slowing stuff down. I like to get stuff up and going, but you got to make a decision. I just want to know about it.
That's all our
That's
opinion.
all I'm saying.
It's all our opinion. And that's the contractor's opinion too.
Well, and timely clarification, Mr. Chairman, I think what I've heard was only in cases where it would slow the project down abnormally and it could not wait for the next board meeting, would I let you and Reggie know, at least chair and vice chair, what's going on, brief you on it. If it's very sensitive, I will call every one of the board members and let y'all know, and only do that when it's going to slow the project down. I'm comfortable with those guidelines if y'all are. And under 20,000, of course.
okay, before we get to the motion, and thank you very much, Mr. Bushy, Ben, for the invite on some of these change orders that we're talking about today. Your reception would not have been, I can assure you, would not have been as warm and fuzzy as it is today
Thank you.
if we hadn't have done that tour 2x2 to see exactly what we were talking about, of what you found and what needed to do to correct that.
And what weird things were up there.
Pardon me?
And what weird things.
Yeah, and
were
what
in the
weird
building.
things. I didn't see any black cats, but I'm sure that'll be coming.
And,
So-
and Mr. Chairman, along those lines, another thing that came up in our coordination call is perhaps the possibility to invite the board down there more routinely at critical stages of the project, just to see the status and the progress being made. Being there and seeing the progress that's going on is really impressive. And it's something that, we could probably do. We may need a little bit of notice so we can let the media know that the board maybe as 5 would be going down there. It could be a scenario that we do right before the meeting starts, like at 2 p.m. before the meeting. But getting down there at key times and seeing, I think the sheriff's going to have a great building when it's done.
Wonderful. Okay, Ms. Attorney, would you help us with the motion for that?
All right.
Follow all that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, there was a lot of caveats there. A motion to authorize the county administrator to approve change orders not to exceed $20,000 that are time sensitive and cannot wait until the next BOS meeting, with notice to the chair and vice chair. How's that work?
Does that work for everybody? Okay,
Exactly.
motion
So
would be in
moved.
order.
Thank
So
you.
moved by Bill Harris,
Second,
second by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion is approved. Thank you, sir, for
Thank you,
being here
gentlemen.
today. Okay, we've all been waiting for Mr. Kretz. Thank you for coming to the stand.
Good
And
afternoon, sir. How's everybody this afternoon?
you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Couple quick things here. Recently I've submitted our smart scale applications for the Town Bridge Road intersection with Route 17 and the improvements on Town Bridge Road that are located closer to Old Virginia Street. Before you use a resolution, VDOT wants a resolution of support for those projects. I remind the board that I gave a brief overview on these projects back in April. This is these projects do not require county match for funding, so they're totally funded by VDOT. So we don't have to have the monetary discussion necessarily on these projects, which is good. So I'm just going to keep it. You may have noticed in the packets that I reinserted the project overlay and the sheets that, if the board wants to kind of refresh their memory with what they look like, this was the R-cut proposed for 17 and Town Bridge Road. That's fairly straightforward project. And then the second project's Town Bridge Road, that's the overview of the whole project, would be road improvements on that segment to increase safety, possibly some widening of the pavement, better shoulders, that type of thing. That's a safety improvement that would be much needed on that road. So anyway, it's fairly straightforward. These projects, of course, are in the future. We have some, talking with Mr. Bill Harris the other day. He just came on the board. We have some projects that are already in the queue. One of which is Regent Road, which I know been the topic of many discussions at this board prior to Mr. Harris getting on as far as safety. That would be an intersection improvement that's already queued up. And we also have some improvements at Stampers Bay Road and that would be Twigs Ferry Road. So anyway, these projects would come after those. The ones that are queued in first obviously come first. So with that, I'm not going to speak anymore. This is an action item. If this is the board's pleasure to support these projects.
And the resolution will take care of what we need to do.
Yes,
for
sir.
that.
Once you take action on it, I'll get Mr. Walker to sign them tomorrow, and I'm going to send them to VDOT tomorrow so they can put them into project files.
Any other questions for Mr. Kretz? If not, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion. We approve resolution R 2024-008.
Motion made by Mr. Jesse,
Second.
second by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye, your motion is carried.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Second item is this is a very brief update on the Broad Creek dredging project. On July 25th, the joint permit application was submitted to the Virginia Marine Resources Commission. So this project is now being reviewed by the different agencies that would usually review this. That includes DEQ, localities. Anybody that has an interest in it will get this application. It's a total distribution to all the different agencies. So happy to announce at least it's in the next phase. Now we're in a wait and see kind of position for see how the agencies respond. Yes, sir.
Are we still Seward's still the contractor that we think is going to do the work?
Yes, sir. They're actually, they've subbed this portion of it out to Waterways, which is a specialty company for engineering and design and that type of thing for these type of hydrographic type hydro projects and that type of thing. So that's their Waterways actually prepared the application. They do a lot of them for this type of project. So go ahead. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with how the hole in the wall project went? Or roughly familiar?
Yeah.
I followed up with Matthews and the project manager for that project, and I can speak to that because it came up last month. What appears that, I spoke to Kurt Smith specifically with the PDC. He's kind of the overall project manager of that project. What happened was between the time they had the bathymetric survey, there were some delays due to sand shark spawning activities. And by the time they finally got in there to dredge, enough accumulated material had accumulated more and deeper than the original bathymetric survey. And of course, they got a price for, I think, 8-foot depth. I think that was it. And then because more material had moved in, they had to dredge to a shallower depth, I think 7.5 feet, in order to stay within the project parameters and costs because of the extra material that had been deposited in that time frame.
So I interpreted they were going to have to come back and do some more dredging.
After sand sharks spawning season, I think that's correct.
Like,
But some of the initial cost increases between what was approved and what was finally decided on was due to increased sand accumulation by Mother Nature.
because it's about a third. I think they got what the total was. They got to come back and take out. It looked like rough figures there.
I
That
think
seems
that's
to be a
accurate.
lot.
I think that's accurate. I asked Louis and or Kurt to maybe come in September if it's timely and give board an update on the dredge. Not holding my breath. I don't know when the JPEG is going to be approved, but it would be timely.
So Matthews is basically looking at a change order then to get.
Well, what they did is instead of dredging to their full depth, they stayed within the project cost parameters and just dredged a 1/2 foot shallower, is my understanding. For the same amount of money.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
They basically didn't dredge to the permitted depth.
Right.
To reduce the cost, they dredged less material.
1/2 foot.
I'm thinking that we need to keep our finger on the pulse of that to prevent that from happening to us. Best we can anyway.
Best we can, yeah. Mother Nature's depositing sand and taking sand and
Well, timing, I think, if it's a shark, they're only going to bait during certain times. So timing, I would think, plays a role in that as well.
yeah.
Right. We may be passing that time if that is an issue. We're not sure that it is. So that'll come up when it goes through the different agencies review. We'll get comments on that. And if that's an issue, it'll be noted. So I'm not suspecting it will be, but it may be. So we'll just have to wait and see. Yes, sir.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to piggyback on this dredging update, I just got an update from Kurt Smith this morning, as a matter of fact, regarding the Mill Creek project, the grant project around the boat ramp. At
Yeah,
Mill
please
Creek.
talk about that.
Yes, sir. We are expecting a draft plan back to the PDC by the end of August. That draft plan, the PDC will have some comments. Dave and I, and maybe may invite Bill into this since it's in his district to review those plans with the PDC, provide comments back. And then Ingrid and the planners would take the final crack at it and hopefully have a complete final plan and draft JPA back to the Middle Peninsula Planning District Commission by the end of September. That would have us applying for that and meeting the grant deadlines by a month.
When you set up that meeting, a member of the EDA, Doug McMahon, I'd like for you to include him as well, if you would, please.
Meeting with
When we're going to, you said something about set up a
PDC?
meeting with, yes, but we have an individual that's on the EDA. His name is Doug McMahon. He would like to
Very
attend
good.
that meeting.
Yeah.
If you would please invite him as well.
Absolutely no
Thank
problem doing so as well.
Thank
We
you.
also have a concerned citizen that's watching it pretty close too. I'm keeping him appraised. He had called my office today and we spoke for a little while about the whole project.
Just in plain terms, what the next, where is this exactly? I know you said it's going to a different phase. Where,
The
is this
joint
now to
permit application-
DEQ and has it gone to DEQ and to the Corps of Engineers yet, or?
Yeah, that distribution happens. What happens is once that is submitted to the Virginia Marine Resources Commission.
Right.
They have a distribution list and those, that application is automatically distributed to every interested party. In fact, we got it back as an interested party. It says we're an interested party. as
And
well,
where's the,
from a regulatory standpoint.
typically, can you tell us what takes the longest of this whole process? In whose office?
As a best guess, DEQ.
Okay.
As a best guess. I've gotten word, I think the Corps, knowing that this is a Corps channel, And the Corps, knowing that the Corps should probably be doing this instead of us, but there's obviously no funds in their bucket to do it right now. They are actually trying, on the Corps side, they're trying to fast track this.
Okay.
They've been extremely, extremely helpful in trying to meet with us and let us know what the next step is. They're providing whatever little documentation we need to be filling out next. They're not taking the typical regulatory stance where, hey, you get your stuff together and we'll look at it. They're very proactive in trying to help out with this process. And our consultant, that's I call it Bird Dog, and he's doing a good job of overseeing this project. He was an ex-regulator with the Corps, so he's very familiar with the process, and he's been very good at keeping us updated and keeping us up on task as well. I would say, hey, you guys need to sign this now. You need to do this now, do that now. So the process seems to be going very well. And like I said, if you were asking me any agency that would take the standard agency approach, it would be Department of Environmental Quality.
So that's where we need to try to light a fire, but
Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna light a fire into that agency. That is not gonna
Okay.
happen. So that hopefully, but they've even ironed out some of the issues with that. They've had pre-conversations with that entity and that agency. And they do have some feeling as to what they need to do and what they can expect from them. So
okay,
our consultants have done a very good job going forward with this.
great. Okay, thank you, Dave.
Yes, sir. I do have one more thing that's not on the agenda, and I'll just briefly discuss it. It's dealing with the Deltaville bike path. If you remember several months ago, some of the funds were, I guess, set aside for this, and not necessarily our fault, but this project's just been hung up in VDOT world more than anything. So if you remember, we had a request that Matt had to make a request that they extend these funds and keep this project going. That letter came in the other day. Matt sent it to me. He got it. So it does look like they're still on track. It's saying, I'll read this. We have reviewed your request and worked with the VDOT Fredericksburg District staff to determine an acceptable path forward for the construction of the project. Staff indicated that the project can and will reach the construction phase by November 2027. This is VDOT staff, yeah. On the base, they're checking with VDOT staff. So, and they have extended the deadline for the grant. I should have probably pre said that, but anyway, they, on the basis of these reassurances, we concur with your request for a time extension to deliver this project. So looks like this project's still on track and moving forward. And actually, VDOT has a construction date for it. So this is a good project for that area. So anyway, just wanted to give that quick update. And
Not to put you on the spot, but do you recall when the project started?
2019. Yeah. I remember that. We had meetings on that, so yeah. And possibly before, if you want to go back in time, it really started at year 2000 and didn't gain the legs to get forward. So this would be great if we could get this project to finish stage and get the hardest part done, and then the rest of it, the second phase will be much easier because we have kind of a coalition of the willing with the marina owners from there down to the point. So anyway, just wanted to give that quick update that came in the other day, and it's not in your packet, but just wanted to
Yeah, thank you for giving us that update.
sir.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kretz.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Okay, we're down to item number F, HRSD sewer update, and we're making a little bit of change in that Jeremiah Buford is going to go first, and then we'll talk about the interceptor main update by Jay Dano after that. Is that correct, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, that's correct. It's my understanding Jay and Bambos are going to do their presentations together from the same location. I believe that's the case.
Okay, so, Mr. Gentry, are we ready for that? I don't see anybody on the screen. Okay, Mr. Buford, you're, we see your picture. Hopefully we can hear you.
Hi, Chairman of the Board. I appreciate you meeting with me. Just what came in to reintroduce the change or task order change for Bowman Consulting for a total of $44,000 and $44,256. 11,780 of that would be for construction administration. And then 32,476 of that is for construction inspection. The last month I presented a approximately $88,000 task order change. This is reduced down to the $44,258, and that is due to, as the project's still continuing on, there's been able to redefine the total cost to complete, and this is the projected cost of completion for Bowman to finish out this project through warranty.
Any questions for Jeremiah? So your ask is for, what's the number again?
The ask is for $44,256.
Are we ready to take any action on that today, or do you want to postpone it till the September meeting, or what's your pleasure, board members?
Mr. Chair, no, I'd like to refer to my attorney.
I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to refer to my attorney.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Jesse. I would just say, if I may, the only question I have, good afternoon, Jeremiah. Is I was reading the change order and I did have a question, and maybe it's a question the board members share. Is that under the Bowman headed change order, it's page 74 of our packet. Jeremiah, it says that the justification for the increase in cost is due to the delay. And I believe Mr. Harris will, as he's smiling, this is not meant to be antagonistic, really, Jeremiah. I know there's a justification for this cost, but when I read that, I'm just, can you explain it maybe once again, why the delay resulted in an increase in cost? I know the generator was delayed, but forgive me, I don't that doesn't translate very readily on the piece of paper. So could you please try explaining that one more time?
So it's not just the delay in time to complete the project. There's also outstanding RFIs that it does not appear that was illustrated in here. There's 39 RFIs that were requested on this project with an estimated total RFIs of 15. So those take time and consideration. But so there were several items that had long lead times that they could not work concurrently with, such as the generator. That's just they can finish some of the project, but not all the project as they wait for the generator to be installed. And so there's not able to work concurrently with the pump station going install along with the pipeline being installed. So with that not being able to work at the same time, there's going to be a shift in the schedule for the for the pump station to take longer to construct while they're constructing the gravity sewer main and force main. So with that delay there for the generator, the electrical components to be installed, that pushes out the project schedule by the 6 months that we're requesting for additional time to conduct the work. It's not the delay that was caused by any of the earlier problems that they ran into, such as the Verizon and those issues. It's just not being able to work, the contractor working at the same time. So on two separate items inside the contract.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Jeremiah, because I think that's the first for me, and I've heard this issue multiple times. The RFIs being mentioned, I fully understand, having dealt with those in the water system. I know that Bowman has a lot of those often. So I can understand where that would be an increase in time. I think that does add some clarification for me, or at least that's more explanation board than a greater detail of explanation, maybe. I don't want to take the board's time in asking questions, but I do think there was some pertinent information there that maybe wasn't readily apparent at the last meeting. Jeremiah, my only other question is, I think given the board's reluctance to, in this change order, I take it that the level of oversight on behalf of HRSD, it sounds like, is maybe increased. Maybe I'm not saying that the correct way, but maybe greater scrutiny given to the change order since it's now a different amount.
It's greater scrutiny, and then as we progress towards the ending of the project, the estimated amount is reflected closer to what the final amount is. So as we get more clarity throughout the project, we're able to really fine tune that number to make sure that we're providing you with the most accurate number that's there. The issue with the earlier numbers is we're looking 6 to 8 to 9 months out. So as we get closer to the end of the project, we understand what the inspection services are going to be to a finite number where we're trying to generalize and try to estimate, well, they're expected to work full-time sometimes, part-time sometimes, and putting a number into that. Now that we're getting closer to the end, we can see where this number's at. And this number we feel more confident with as we get closer. But again, the construction inspection is not a open checkbook. That is a time and material contract where they have to provide, the consultant has to provide time, hours, paperwork documenting what they did on those times.
And just to confirm again, Jeremiah, is it you who will be confirming those, or is it another project manager who will be verifying those invoices and timesheets from Bowman?
It would be HRSD, and then the Middlesex County is involved with reviewing those for reimbursement from DEQ.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, just one thing, we keep hearing about the generator come up and talking or whatever, inspection and so forth and so on. If you're not doing load testing, how long does it take for an inspector to inspect the installation of a generator?
Well, it's one generator, but it's the PLCs, it's the control panels coming from the contract or from the subcontractor coming in, the extended lead time on VFDs at that point in time. VFDs have gone down in time, but there's several electrical components that had longer lead times, so they couldn't work concurrently with the installation of the gravity sewer and building the pump station.
Any other discussions? Are you ready to take any action on this now, or do you want to wait for the next meeting, or we are going to be scheduling a work session? Do you want to cover it then? What's your pleasure? Is there any motion that's going to be made today? Okay, let's table that for the time being and let's move on. Interceptor main project.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll introduce Jay Dano, and I think with him, somewhere down there at HRSD is Bambos. Or Jay may be doing the entire presentation. I think we'll see in a moment. You're going to be getting a lot of information today regarding sewer. So it would be my recommendation for y'all to consider a work session later in August, and talking to Ken and talking to Jay and getting their availability. It looks like August 27th is lining up to be the best date for that work session. So you take this information in the day, think about it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself, Ken Turner, or Jay Dano, or Bambos specifically. You'd be in a position to take action on it at that work session. We'll let the media know and advertise it for that purpose.
You guys want us to set that date now for the 27th for a work session? We have some other topics other than HRSD that needs to be discussed then as well.
I would recommend the morning.
And where?
Here.
Here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does 9 work for everybody, or you want to make it 9:30, or you want to make it 10? What's your pleasure? 8:30. That's good for me and you. I ain't
Sounds like
sure
a
it's good
bid,
for
maybe
everybody
7:30.
else. Okay, so we're gonna do a work session at 9 o'clock and here in the courthouse building on August the 27th.
That's correct.
Okay,
And we can confirm everything that y'all discussed today that you want to move into decision mode at that session towards the end of the meeting after all the other discussions happen.
Could you, Matt, could you arrange that, we can get some keys to the, facility down there at Cook's Corner, just in case we want to take a look at it between now and the.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could
That
do
may help
that
with some of the.
with Jay. Yep.
We're hearing
Very good.
PLCs and generator stuff, maybe some of the members won't take a look.
Yeah, take a little tour. Very good. Emery, add that to my list. Thank you.
okay.
Are you ready for me, Matt?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Thanks for this opportunity to present on what's happening with HRSD. I want to comment on one thing Matt mentioned. Bombos has been diverted to an emergency situation here at HRSD, so I will be covering the whole presentation today. As Matt mentioned, my name's Jay Dano. I'm the Director of Planning and Analysis in our engineering department here at HRSD. And there we go. Good. Just wanted to cover really 5 things. 1, provide a quick overview on what HRSD does, talk about our partnership, then talk about our recent bid on our transmission force main project, then discuss interim measures that we're evaluating to provide service in the interim, and then just touch on, let you be aware that we're doing a Middle Peninsula master planning source study that includes Middlesex County. So a little bit about HRSD. We provide wastewater treatment for 30 cities, counties, and towns in southeastern Virginia from the eastern shore to King William County, from the Maryland line on the eastern shore down to the Carolina line on Southside Hampton roads. So we cover a broad area. What we do every day is we promise to treat wastewater and recover natural resources to protect public health and the environment. And our long-term vision is that our communities will have clean waterways and reliable water resources for generations to come. And we do this in partnership with our locality partners, and in this case, Middlesex County. One of the key things I like to highlight is that HRSD is not in the development business. The county controls development. We provide wastewater treatment service. And so we have a close coordination with our locality partners so that we can work together to meet both our needs. With that said, I'm going to transition to our our recent bids that came in on the Middlesex Transmission Force Main project. The engineer's estimate was around $40 million or $42 million. The bid prices, 2 of them came in at $81 million, and we don't have the money to cover that. So we made a recommendation to the HRSD Commission that meets the 4th Tuesday of every month to reject the bids, and that was done at the end of June. The Commission did approve the rejection of the bids. We did this for a number of reasons. 1 was we're fiscally constrained, and 2, the price was out of line with what we thought the project should cost. We have major financial obligations driven by regulatory projects that we have to get done in order to protect the Chesapeake Bay and meet we're under an EPA consent order, and we have regulatory driven projects. So what are we going to do about it? We're evaluating our options. The current plan is to delay the project for at least 3 years here and look at means and methods to deliver the project at lower cost at that point in time. And the two main things we're looking at are breaking these projects into smaller bid packages to increase the contractor pool and the competitive pricing, and monitoring the local bidding environment for better bidding conditions. And there's just a lot of money out there for infrastructure projects right now. So the contractors are being incredibly selective and throwing big numbers at projects to see if they catch a big fish. So we're monitoring the bidding environment regularly, because we have so many projects that we're trying to put out on the street, and some of them we're getting better prices than others. So that puts us into a question of what do we do during the interim period until a permanent solution is implemented. And we're evaluating the Central Middlesex treatment plant that's there in Saluda to determine, one, its available capacity to take additional flow, two, what the new flows from a Saluda low pressure force main system and the Cook's Corner gravity system would be under this phase one. I think Matt likes to call it Middlesex Light connection policy. And then also we've delayed investments in the Central Middlesex treatment plant, knowing that it was going to come offline. So we need to make some upgrades to maintain the plant in compliance to treat the sewage to the permit levels. And so we're evaluating how we're going to do that. The next few slides are directly from the Timmins Group from Ken, and it just shows the Saluda water system that provides service to 162 potential customers, and they're listed there. This is important because water and sewer go together, and the planned Saluda low pressure force main system looks almost identical there. So a potential of 162 customers. This would be a low pressure force main collection system. So each property would have a private E1 grinder pump. It's mandatory that the properties served have connection to the public water system. Another important note here is that the county does not have a mandatory sewer connection policy. So if the low pressure force main pipes were installed, not every property would connect or be required to connect. The two legs of the system, which are in yellow, orange, and red, would discharge into the existing gravity collection system and then flow down to the Central Middlesex treatment plant. And the proposed completion date for the sewer project would be May of 2027. Diving down into that schedule a little more, we can see where we are today, approaching the restart of the final sewer system design, September of 2024. The goal would be to complete that design in April of 2025, have easement acquisition complete by January 2026, close on the loan in January 2026, advertise for construction in February of 2026, begin construction in the spring of 2026, and be complete as required by May of 2027. So as part of this, the flows anticipated to be generated, the sewage flows anticipated to be generated were calculated. This shows how that was tallied up between residential and then some of the commercial customers there. So an average daily flow of 15,570 gallons per day for the Saluda area. And then the Central Middlesex treatment plant is also connected to the Cook's Corner service area. So we need to monitor flows from the Cook's Corner system as well. And at total build out, that would be 75 accounts. However, in phase one, we're looking at 3 connections, one being the sheriff's office, 2 being the animal shelter, And 3, which is really 24 apartments, would be the workforce apartments. So when we calculate the flows anticipated from those 3 connections in Cook's Corner, we calculate an average daily flow of 7,500 gallons per day. And this is based on the land use that's listed and confirmed by Middlesex County and deemed as a high priority for Middlesex County. The flow from these phase 1 connections would be conveyed to the Saluda wastewater treatment plant, also known as Central Middlesex Treatment Plant. And what's of concern for HRSD is that that plant is rated at 30,000 gallons per day. If we did all of the phase 1 connections that are proposed plus the existing average daily flow, we would exceed the capacity of the plant by about 5,270 gallons per day. So we can't do that, but what we can do, and this is just restating what I said, that the design capacity of the treatment plant is 30,000 gallons per day. Under our permit, if we exceed the average daily flow, 95% of the average daily flow for 3 consecutive months, we need to have a plan with DEQ in place on how we're going to address the need to increase capacity. What we're proposing in our commitment to Middlesex County is that we approve new sewer connections on a first come, first served basis in both Saluda and Cook's Corner, the ones that are primarily listed under phase 1. HRSD will continue to monitor the flow at the Central Middlesex treatment plant to ensure that we don't violate permit. And once we get to the 95% average daily flow, we will not approve new connections to the sewer system. And we'll continue to find the best alternative to deliver a sewer project, a master project, when the market conditions are favorable. And with that, I did want to highlight one other thing that's going on on a parallel track, is that right now we're in the middle of doing some Middle Peninsula master planning for not only Middlesex County, but King William County, Matthews, and Gloucester, that looks at how we're going to be managing wastewater service through 2050. So, and this master planning is based on county published master or comprehensive plans. And just want to make everyone aware that Middlesex County is included as part of this master planning effort. So I'll be working, probably Bombos or Corey Kendall will be reaching out to Matt and staff to coordinate what the long-term future looks like. And that's all I have to present today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Sir, is your calendar cleared for the 27th? Do you plan to come to our work session?
I plan on being there at least on a screen. Yes, Matt talked to me this morning. I gave him that date is available. And it's been a long time since I've made the trip up to that nice building there that you're sitting in. So if possible, I might try to make the trip up.
We would prefer you to make the trip up.
All right. Noted.
How does all of what you just described, how does that fall into your plans, or do you have a plan for what you're going to do with the Urbana treatment plant?
So the Urbana treatment plant is reliant on, if we were to take it offline, on a new transmission force main also. So we're also making some investments to extend the life of the Urbana treatment plant until we find favorable market conditions to take it offline. Good question.
Are either one of those treatment plants, Urbana or Saluda, under consent order to be shut down?
They are not. They are not. That's an economic decision for us, and it helps the water quality there as well. So it was a win-win opportunity.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Dano.
I have
Go ahead.
one, and it's just a curiosity. Jay, this is Matt. Is there any likelihood, well, let me rephrase it. Is there any chance that if market conditions should drastically improve and all of a sudden the contractors were hungry for work, the HRC would consider rebidding that project earlier, like within a year or two. And because that question in particular is important to our clean water revolving loan funds and our ARPA grant that's attached to some of the projects. Well, all of the projects really. The ARPA grant's attached to Saluda. And I had a conversation this morning with DEQ, and they were they didn't think that was very likely, but I wanted to ask just to see what the flavor was at HRSD.
I agree with DEQ that it's not likely. However, we are opportunistic, Matt. If for some reason all the contractors became available and it was super competitive, I think we'd be trying to push as much work onto the street as we could to get good pricing. But the tea leaves don't look like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to stop sharing now.
All right. Okay, let's move to regular agenda items. County sewer discussion, Ken Turner. Come on up, sir. You have the floor.
Is that a little better? It's getting recorded. I'm going to be discussing the Middlesex County sewer system deployment in the countywide service areas. We have currently identified 4 areas in the county where sewer systems will be potentially be deployed. Those include Deltaville, Hartfield, Topping, and Saluda. I'll touch on all of these in some detail and focus on in a little more detail on others. So for this presentation, I plan to review the low pressure system and the E1 grinder pumps, how and where they're going to be deployed. Have a couple of case studies of low pressure system deployments around the country, as well as some here in Virginia and the county. I'm going to discuss the proposed low pressure sewer service areas within Middlesex. I'm going to go over the design layout and status update for Middlesex County service areas. And I'm going to do a review of the grants and loans that have been received that will support some of the project funding that is necessary to deploy the sewer systems. Essentially, low pressure sewer systems in the county will be installed from individual properties to a regional wastewater treatment plant facility that HRSD discussed. They will be conveyed through small diameter force mains. These low pressure sewer systems are a common solution in areas where the collection system is expansive and gravity sewers are not economical. Typically, you can only go about 15 feet with a gravity sewer before the installation cost gets too high. I believe, as you saw in Cook's Corner with the 20-some foot deep sewers, the cost per linear foot was extensive. So we're doing this to minimize the linear foot cost and to provide a solution that will be more cost effective. So each one of these property owners will be having a E1 pump station in their yard at the property line. They utilize a small grinder pump station to move the wastewater through the system. These individual stations grind up the sewer into a fine slurry and pressurize it to allow transport through the small diameter pipes. And the E1 grinder pump stations for single family homes have a storage capacity of about 70 gallons. So if there's a power failure or something like that, there's still the potential for some storage to be utilized until the power is restored. HRSD will require a sewer customer to be located to a municipal water system, as HRSD just indicated. The sewer charges that will be billed to each customer will be based on metered water consumption. So any water meter readings will be used as a basis for billing customers for sewer usage. The E1 grinders is preferred to have them located at the right-of-way line. So if there's any maintenance or operation that the county has to do, you don't have to enter on the private property. There will also be an isolation valve required at the property line to be the line of demarcation between the public and the private sewer system. Some of the construction and operation concepts for the county. The county will be responsible for the collection system and the terminal pump station, and potentially a short section of force main to connect at the predetermined location where HRSD will take over the responsibility to construct the sewer force main. Some of these improvements will be dedicated to HRSD, and some will be owned, operated, and maintained by the county. HRSD will install force mains to the wastewater treatment plant, and the homeowner will be responsible for the house connection and the grinder pump installation. So once again, all of these grinder pumps will be the responsibility of the homeowner to purchase and install and maintain the grinder pumps. For the county, the collection system to the manhole upstream of the pump station is going to be required. So the county will run the system up to the first manhole upstream of the HRSD pump station. HRSD will be responsible for ownership and operation of the terminal pump station and the force main that the county installs. And the homeowner will have to provide power. It requires 220 amp breakers, the grinder pump, and the connection at the property line. This is a typical schematic of how a low pressure system would work. As you can see, the gravity sewer is below the elevation of the homes, or the homes are too far away from the gravity line for flow to be conveyed by gravity. So it has to be pumped through a low pressure pump station. And again, the homeowner is responsible for the power supply. If there is a need for any maintenance or replacement of the pump in the future, and the line to the county is also the responsibility of the property owner. This is kind of a busy slide, but I'll try and boil it down for you. We are going to require that the pump stations be provided with a specific type of control panel that is offered by E1. It's the Century Protect Plus panel. It includes trouble indication that shuts down the pump temporarily if there are certain operating conditions that occur. If there is a loss of power, if there's a brownout or a blackout, the pumps will not operate. If the system has too high of a pressure for the E1 to get into the system, if there are so many pumps operating that the system pressure has exceeded the shutoff head of the E1 pump, it will lock out that pump so the pump doesn't just run and not pump anything. So that's a feature that will increase the life expectancy of these units. And with the control panel here, it will monitor the pump performance for every start, runtime, duration, and stop. So there's the ability to hook up a laptop to this controller, download the information over the past month or 6 months or a year. This is an important feature because if there's too much flow entering the system, and HRSD will compare the metered water consumption to the sewer flow that is coming to the plant. And if the peaking factor that's coming to the plant is 5 times the water consumption, then they're going to reach out to the county and say, okay, you need to find and fix the problems because you're sending too much flow to us. If the peaking factor reaches 10 times the average daily flow, they'll issue a consent order to you to reduce the flow. And we want to help monitor that and potentially eliminate problems. And if it does occur, these controllers will help you pinpoint who the problem customer is. A couple case studies. There's one in Georgia. They've had 1,000 E1s in service since 1984. They have a combination of pressure and gravity systems like will be proposed in topping. Some of the flow from the campground will flow downhill to the pump station, and then it will be, there will also be potential connections with E1s if customers cannot get to the pump station by gravity. So that's similar to what we're proposing in the Middlesex system. And the operation of these 1,000 pumps are maintenance and operation is covered by 2 technicians to maintain the system on an annual basis. The next one is Knoxville, Tennessee. They have about 2,300 E1 pump stations that operate all at the same time. When everybody wakes up, the flow increases and these pumps handle the flow and pump it to the central treatment facility. The county has concluded that if a gravity system is more than 10 feet, pressure sewer is required for reasons of health, safety, and longevity. So they have a maximum depth that they want to see their force mains of 10 feet. And that's why I mentioned that earlier about the gravity lines. They're, you know, when I was in charge of a sewer system, we didn't go more than 15 feet because our operations folks didn't have the equipment to dig down that far. And they'd have to call a contractor and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix the repair. So we're limiting the depth to something that can be easily maintained by current maintenance contractors. Another one is Martha's Vineyard up in Massachusetts.
Just one second. Didn't you say we were at 24 feet at Cook's Corner? I thought you were saying we were limiting it here, but you're saying they're limiting it, not Middlesex is limiting
Right.
it. Okay, thank you.
Another one is up in Martha's Vineyard. This has a seasonal increase in usage. During the winter, there's about 20,000 people, and then in the summer, the population served expands to 110,000. And these grinder pumps are sufficient to handle that flow. They've been designed and installed such that they can handle the increases in flow during the summer months and operate without any overflows. And some common themes of all these case studies. And then before I get to the common themes of the case studies, right here in Middlesex County, the Cedar Point subdivision has about 30 homes that are currently on E1 systems that pump to a private treatment plant out there. So some of these sewer systems have already been deployed in the county, and James City Service Authority also has several that have been installed and operational since the 1970s. So some of the common themes of all these case studies is the mean time between service calls is 8 to 10 years. So once they're installed, brand new systems have a 5-year warranty from the manufacturer. If anything happens to the pump station, you call the supplier, they'll have someone out in 2 hours and take care of it. After the 5-year warranty period, then operation and maintenance is the responsibility of the homeowner. And the pumps are expected to last 25 years, with many in service much longer. And another advantage of the low pressure system is the typical O&M costs for low pressure systems are significantly less when compared to gravity and lift stations or vacuum systems. So if you have a gravity system, it has to go to a pump station, has all those bells and whistles, and they can be problematic. How am I doing on time? Okay. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to check to see if I had to speed things up.
When you run out, we're gonna shoot you.
I'm fine with that.
Go ahead.
So the low pressure installations in Virginia, there are numerous installations in Virginia with over 500 pump stations. I mentioned James City County and Nelson County have over 1,000 stations that have been in service since the 70s. They've each standardized on E1 and continue to operate with limited service calls. And over on the Eastern Shore, the town of Exmoor is deploying E1 low pressure systems. They currently have approximately 300 in service out of a future total of about 800 that they have been working with DEQ on to deploy that system. And from August 2023 to May of 2024, they've only had one service call for a pump that was ragged up and was easily fixed. So out of all the ones that have been deployed in Exmoor, there've been one minor call. Some other examples of local counties that have low pressure systems: Westmoreland County has approximately 1,500 going back to the 90s. Northumberland County has approximately 300 going back to 76. And the town of Whitestone has approximately 200 that are in service. They were installed just a few years ago. And they're planning to expand that and purchase another 200 E1 units to deploy in the Whitestone community. So I have this graphic that shows the proposed low pressure service areas as I discussed on the opening slide. To get into specifics of the topping system, we've completed the PER. We've had a kickoff meeting. Next slide. We've had a kickoff meeting with TEQ to discuss the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund applications and requests. We have pinpointed a design flow of 175 gallons per minute, which is consistent with the design flow that Kimley Horn has used for the force main that we'll be connecting to. HRSD, once the pump stations are installed, HRSD will own and operate the stations as well as the force main that they connect to. The county is going to be responsible to own and operate the collection system up to the connection point with HRSD. The property owner, once again, they will own the E1 and they will be responsible for maintenance and replacement in the future. For this topping project, Timmons has been asked to pause on the design, so we're currently on hold for this. The next slide shows a graphic of the proposed topping system. Up in the top right, the green is the gravity line from the campground down to the terminal pump station. It's on the county property, the woods adjacent to the airport property. We've carved out a 1 acre site that will be subdivided off of this property and dedicated to HRSD for them to own and operate the facility. HRSD prefers to own the underlying fee for the property when they have assets associated with them. Then we show the extension of the force main going down Grace Point Road and connecting at General Puller Highway in red. For the Deltaville service area, the PER is complete. We've laid out the system and several times and resized the size of the pipes based on the county comments that we have received during several review processes. We've completed 30 and 60% design, and we've submitted that to the county, and we are continuing to move forward towards 90% design. And we're waiting on comments from the county for the 60% submission. And again, HRSD is to own, operate, and maintain the pump station and the connecting force main. On Deltaville, Timmons has been asked to pause on this design as well. So this is a overall system layout for Deltaville. The main, what we're going to call phase 1, is highlighted here in red and has some pink shading in there. That is the initial project that will provide sewer to Stingray Point, where there is a good need for that right now. That'll run all the way down General Puller Highway. Then there is another phase proposed to cover Stove Point. And then the third phase is to pick up the remainder of the portion highlighted in green to the north of the main highway. To talk about some of the details of how we have been proceeding with Saluda, the PER is complete. And again, this is going to sound like a broken record, but the county is going to be responsible for design and construction. The county will own and operate the collection system. The property owner will own the E1 grinder pump station and be responsible for the maintenance. And we will be connecting to the HRSD terminal manhole that's located just outside this building near the treatment plant. The 60% design has been completed and submitted to the county for comments. And we've again been asked to pause the design on this project until we get clear direction from the county on how or if to move forward. The overall layout for Saluda is shown here. This is similar to what Jay had in his presentation that he just went over. We're proposing to run low pressure force main down Gloucester Road and General Puller Highway right to this intersection, and then extend the gravity line to the treatment plant. The low pressure force mains will discharge to a manhole just outside the treatment plant, and it'll flow by gravity to the plant. The schedule that we're proposing for the Saluda project, we've completed the PER and we've made a presentation to the board. We'll restart the final sewer design hopefully in September with your approval. But again, that decision is up to the board to make whenever they feel it's prudent. If we get authorization in September, we can complete the final design and hopefully obtain approvals from DEQ, the Corps, and a lot of the other regulators that were discussed earlier by April of 2025. And this is a very aggressive schedule. So in order for us to meet the deadline of May 27, all these things have to fall in place. There are a few easements that are required in Saluda that we propose to work with the county attorney on in January of 26, close on the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund in January 26, advertise for construction in February 26, and then begin construction in March with the completion date of May 27th. That gives us about 15 months for construction, commissioning, and shaking the whole system down. This is a repeat of some of the stuff that Jay just went over. They got bids for the project. They came in $40 million over budget. The commission has voted and approved to postpone the system. When it was presented to the board, they talked about a minimum of 3 years, but depending on market conditions and what HRSD just said in the previous presentation, if market conditions warrant, they'll advertise a project sooner. And this was also discussed in the prior presentation as part of that risk. The Saluda treatment plant facility is being evaluated for capacity, potential new sewer flow from Saluda and Cook's Corner, which is referred to as phase 1 by HRSD. And HRSD has determined that the Saluda wastewater treatment plant has adequate capacity to handle low pressure flow from Saluda only. Currently, there is no excess capacity in the Saluda wastewater treatment plant to handle flow from Topping or Deltaville. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the existing in phase 1 sewer flows. This is the graphic that you saw in the HRSD presentation. The plant has a permitted capacity of 30,000 gallons per day. And with the flow projections that we're looking at, just to build out phase 1 and cover all the existing customers, that permitted capacity will be exceeded by approximately 5,000 gallons per day. So there needs to be something done to prevent HRSD from violating the terms of their permit, or they'll get a fine from DEQ for exceeding the limits of their permit, and they don't want to do that because they just pass that on to their ratepayers.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
And I think I heard it correct, that they really don't have exactly what the plan is, but under the amount of flow that we're talking about and where they're going to be in a negative position with that, with the state, I think I heard them, and you correct me because you were listening too, if you don't mind. They're either going to have to build another treatment plant, or I think in the meantime, they were talking about doing some changes with the current plant. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, they're looking at doing some improvements at the existing plant to enhance the treatment capacity. So when they discharge the wastewater, if the flow increases, it will still be within the permit limits. So their plans to deal with the existing treatment plant will be to make renovations at the existing plant, do as little as possible, because once the low pressure system is online, then that treatment plant will be demolished. So they don't want to spend money that they're just going to tear down in the future.
Can,
Yeah, but
can I
right now,
clarify?
that plan is 3 to 5 years,
Yeah,
right?
that's what they indicated. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's a valid question. And there's a lot of moving parts to what, we're coordinating with HRSD. So I understand that I'm throwing a lot of information at you, and please feel free to ask any questions.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, we're hearing some background noise. I think somebody online may have wanted to add to that. Jay or Sam McAdoo may still be with us, and they may want to
Okay.
expand on that.
Matt, this is Jay.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I do want to clarify, we are not planning on expanding capacity at the Central Middlesex treatment plant. Our investment will be to ensure we meet the level of service on the quality of the treated water that we're providing. we would not get permitted to increase the capacity at the Central Middlesex treatment plant. So what I said in my presentation is that we will be monitoring the flows that are the connections to the system so that we don't exceed the available capacity. So just wanted to be very clear on that.
Thank you, sir, for that clarification. Go
You're
ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so that may require rationing or limiting the connections with the funding grants we have from ARPA and DEQ. They prefer for the sewer system deployment to be targeted to residential customers. So if there becomes an issue with the number of customers that want to hook up, as Jay said, we can't exceed the permitted discharge limit. So we'll have to look at rationing connections to the folks that come in and request service later. The next slide, this is just reiterating HRSD's plan, and they want to approve new sewer connections on a first come, first served basis, both in Saluda and Cook's Corner service area. As they indicated previously, they'll be monitoring the flow at the Saluda plant on a continuous basis to make sure the plant does not violate permitting requirements, because they don't want to be hit with any fines from DEQ. And then once the plant, I have here, Jay, 95% capacity of the design flow, HRSD will not approve new connections to the system. And that'll give the county and HRSD a little bit of breathing room to figure out what to do until the ultimate treatment plant capacity is reached. And then HRSD will continue to find the best alternatives to deliver sewer projects for the best value under favorable market conditions, as they indicated earlier. And the HRSD Commission has voted to reject the bids received on the Central Middlesex Regional infrastructure projects. They came in $40 million over budget, and they're looking at delaying bidding 3 years or so, depending on market conditions. So that's what HRSD indicated previously. To talk about the Hartfield service area, the PER is complete. The county is responsible for design and construction. The county will own and operate the collection system. The property owner will own and operate the E1 grinder pumps and be responsible for long-term maintenance and repair. The new E1 grinders, when they are purchased brand new, they have a 5-year warranty. So for 5 years, the customers that are served by these E1s won't have any responsibility if there's a problem with the grinder pump station. They just call the supplier and they'll take care of any repairs. Again, this project is currently on hold or on pause until the board decides the best path forward. In Hartfield, the overall system layout is shown here. We are proposing low pressure to go from the YMCA at one end and the M&M Building Supply on the other end of the main road, General Puller Highway. And we propose to have a low pressure force main on each side of the road up to where we feel the last customer could potentially connect. We didn't want to have a sewer line on one side of the road and have to cross for every residence or business that wanted to connect. So we're proposing to put a low pressure force main on each side of General Puller Highway and make one crossing of General Puller Highway at Wood Brothers Road. And that'll minimize the trenchless crossing costs.
Excuse me. I've seen some drawings where it showed some lift stations or pump stations that the county would own in Hartfield. Is that off the map now? Is that not?
At the county well in Hartfield?
Yes. Is that, did I read something wrong? See something not correct?
I may be able to answer that. There was an initial plan by Bowman that had 3 or more lift stations to serve a gravity system. When the board elected to pursue a low pressure system, we negotiated some shared space with the Hartfield pump station being constructed by HRSD
to serve the Hartfield area with a low pressure system, as opposed to 3 separate pump stations as was proposed with the Bowman plant, if my memory serves.
So there are no plans to put any pump stations in Hartfield that Middlesex would be?
No, sir.
responsible for?
Currently, one of the reasons we established that set aside to fulfill our partnership requirement with HRSD, if the Interceptor main project went forward, was to cover our proportional share of that pump station that's located roughly across the road from the convenience center, which is one of the main pressure stations for HRSD for their Interceptor main project.
I think there's still some things floating out there with those pump stations designated on it, and maybe be an.
It could be an old
HRC's arsenal
PER
as well.
Yeah, it could be an old PER from Bowman, but
Okay.
that hasn't been in play for quite some time.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
Yep.
Sure. And finally, I'd like to talk about the grants and loans that have been received. I'll focus on the Saluda area since that appears to be the first system that could potentially be deployed. A DEQ revolving loan fund that was applied for in 2023 has been approved for $1.83 million. FY 24 DEQ revolving loan fund application has been approved for $341 million. And then the county was awarded an $800,000 grant, an ARPA grant that has some sunset limitations on it. The ARPA grant must be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and the jurisdiction will have until December 31st, 2026 to spend all the funds. There was also a countywide DEQ ARPA grant that was received for straight line pipe replacement for $750,000. And the county has decided to forfeit that due to time constraints and other funding limitations. So the grant that was received for the straight line pipe program has been forfeited by the county. And that concludes my presentation. And I'd like to open it up for any questions.
The last few sheets here basically has a lot of cost on it.
Yeah.
When were those costs last updated? We know from HRSD, some project here that everything's gone up. Were they, have they
I
been
believe these are
updated?
about 6 months old. We have updated them, I believe, in the recent past.
So if they're 6 months old, did we see, what kind of percentage did we see from their initial loan?
I believe I've seen about 30% increase in the past 2 years, and lately haven't seen the escalation as aggressive as it was started 2 years ago when the COVID funding and all the other grants were pushed out by the current administration. That flooded the market with funding, and that drove construction costs up, and the contracting community was put in a position where they had more work than they could perform. So that's when they realized that if they had to, that the price of construction was at a premium, and if they wanted to do the work, they could charge more for it.
So the documentation that we have from last year, 2023, where it lists these costs here are roughly 20 to 30% higher than that documentation we have in 2023.
I believe, I don't have that information in front of me, but I can check on.
Yeah, that's something that the citizens are really concerned with, is the cost.
Yeah,
The-
absolutely.
The actual cost, the current cost.
Ken, would it be possible to give a kind of a preliminary engineering estimate updated with those figures
Yes,
before the work session on the 27th?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
And one of the other things that I constantly hear asked is, how much money have we paid Timmons so far for all this good work that you've done? And what do we owe you currently at this point too?
We have
If you
been
don't have a
issued,
number now, but I mean.
we have been issued purchase orders for $4 million. We've currently spent about $1 million of that. And most of the projects are on pause right now, pending the decisions of the board.
And I have a more detailed answer for that under my section.
So roughly another 3 million to finish all the engineering that needs to be done.
Yes.
I was looking at the cost on the last page of the the grinder pumps. It's my understanding that each individual homeowner is going to be paying for their own grinder pump.
That's correct. That's currently
And
what we
currently it
have.
looks like what, $4,250 a piece.
I got a quote for one, for my friend's house, and I believe that was,
Well, I can say when I called Steve Staten, they were $6,500 a piece and asked about buying them in a group. He said 51 comes on a truck and you save a lot on freight.
right?
And that's only about 5 months old. Steve Staten is the one who owns distributorship for the E1 grinder pumps.
Yeah, I got an email from the supplier just for getting one, because, my friend has a pump that has been problematic. It's, quite old. Cedar Point. And we've been calling a plumber every month and we're ready to do something. Yeah, about $6,000 for the E1, about $1,000 for the controller, and we're saying $2,000 to $3,000 for installation. So around 10,000 in service.
Thank you.
Anne Marie, can I get you to pull up HRSD's presentation and specifically the slide that's located on page 8 of the packet? I want to add a little bit of explanation and color to what you've just heard. Yeah, we'll need 8 to 10 of that presentation. It's the yeah, it's not their page 8. Well, it's the slide dealing with capacities at the Saluda treatment plant. That's it. So you heard Jay mention we've had some conversations about what I would refer to as Saluda Light. If the board wanted to pursue some form of sewer, given the amount of capacity limitations that we have at the Central Middlesex, as HRSD refers to it, the Saluda treatment plant, as I refer to it, you have a good breakdown in capacities there. This is also similar information that we submitted to DEQ for our ARPA grant. I will put a pin in that till I get into my section. You'll notice 30 residential customers with an average daily flow of 4,500. Parties is estimated at 22. Food line at 7,300. And then the post office, Dollar General, and Saluda Builder Supply, not in any particular specificity that they are definitely wanting to connect, but just as examples of small flow, small commercial entities that may contribute to the system. We have a non-mandatory connection policy, as the board well knows. So when final design is complete and the board has a final engineered estimate on the cost of the project, we probably will, if we do it indicative to how the Water Authority did it in the past, start canvassing the community, having town hall meetings, and getting interested people to connect. And as Jay said, from HRSD's point of view, they can only accept so much. It may be advantageous for the board, if they do choose to move forward with a system, to ration the use or perform Saluda Light. Specifically, what is pretty obvious to me, until we get fully involved in the connection subscriber efforts, we won't really know the 30 customers, 30 residential customers, or the other specific businesses interest to connecting. But we can ration that potential connection by maybe suggesting that Food Lion wait until phase 2, which we kind of consider if and when HRSD ever does bid the Interceptor Main project, and has the added capacity to treat the effluent. We don't know exactly when that will be. And the 7,300, if that was to wait until the next effort years from now, then we would be right under that cap before they're expected to maintain and extend the topping system.
The bid that we got for doing Saluda's 2.4 million or something like that. The price for doing Saluda, 2.4
Yeah, I
million.
think the all-in cost was 2.9.
Okay. And
Yeah,
we
you can
know
go
that,
to,
and given today's climate, that's probably low.
sorry?
Given today's climate, that's probably low.
We'll know when we bid it out. That's exactly right. We're hoping, and hope is not a plan, but here it comes. By the time the project's designed and put to bid, the market conditions may have eased up. It may be a small enough project to entice smaller contractors, more local contractors to bid the project. We won't know until we bid it.
So it's safe to say it's probably still going to be around 3 million, just hopefully not more than that.
I would say, Bill, I'd say that's a good estimate. Given the inflation that we've had, of course, it's the future casting, who knows? We could bid it out and it can come in at 6. So any
Right.
potential customers that connect or want to connect maybe have to be told that this is totally dependent on the bid outcomes and the county's ability to proceed. Again, it's still an if scenario. And one quick thing I want to elaborate on that Ken's mentioned throughout every project. We staff asked Ken and Timmons to pause all work on all of these projects in light of the recent bid back in May 1st. Saluda is under more of a time crunch, which we'll talk about more, but we felt it prudent to ask them to pause all work, stop all billing at that point in time until we had a clear picture of what HRSD was going to do with the interceptor mains. We didn't want them to continue to run ahead and design projects that were going to be on indefinite hold potentially. So I made that decision after consultation with the chairman, and we let Ken know, pause all work. We've had some consulting from him along the way, him and Jessica Kawakowski. I'm killing
Yes.
that last name, but she'll get me for that one. But other than that, all the engineering work should have stopped effective May 2nd. And there was also some concerns expressed about low pressure systems in general and why the board may want to proceed or not proceed with those. So we felt it prudent to pause that. We do not want to run up engineering costs any further if we're going to have to pause those projects. And I'll pin that conversation again to my more in detailed presentation of some of the finances and some of the clean water revolving loans and the ARPA grant in particular later. I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. I think we notified y'all in a meeting, but I wanted to reaffirm that. So he has reminded us all of these projects are paused. And as Jay and Ken both said, we are under a time crunch with the ARPA grant. We have to expend that 800,000 by December 26th, unless Congress extends deadlines. DEQ, as of this morning, is still under the belief that that's going to be the deadline, December 2026. But a lot can change between now and 2026. If a lot of projects haven't spent their ARPA monies, I don't think DEQ is running around trying to take them back. But at the same time, they're under federal guidelines, regulations to have those monies spent by that time period, is my understanding. If there are a lot of communities that haven't spent them, a lot of congressmen are going to be asking for some leeway on that. It's my prediction. That's totally my conjecture on the matter.
Still, we're looking at 34 connections and we're looking at $3 million for 34 places.
That's the initial estimate, yes.
And we don't own the water system in that area.
No, we don't. The water system here in Saluda is owned by Aqua. So billing accommodations would have to be coordinated between HRSD and Aqua, and then between the county and HRSD for our proportionate share for the collection system. Yep. Just a couple of extensions.
The first part here almost seems like a sales pitch for E1 grinder pumps. I'll say the E1 grinder pumps are hardy. They're good. It's a good product. There's nothing wrong with them. But as we've talked, I am opposed to the design of what's going on in Deltaville and how it is. And in here, there's a lot of positives about E1 grinder pumps. And I would think that there's at least one negative you could come up with for us. What would be one of the downfalls of putting all these grinder pumps in Deltaville?
cost to the county and the burden on the property owners for long-term maintenance.
The cost of the county would be the crew that the county would need to employ to be able to take care of this system,
Yeah.
however much it is, like maybe scouring the lines a couple times a year would be
Yeah.
one of the downfalls.
Yeah, and in the Deltaville system and some other areas where we are deploying low pressure, we're going to include flushing stations at the end of the line.
And we just looked at this thing here in Saluda and they had 30 houses and apparently they're using 150 gallons a day in that scenario there per house. And the grinder pump holds 70 gallons. So you lose power, you're right at what you do for a whole day. That's it. You're done. So if you lose power for a few days, you don't have a generator, you're over with.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, like I said, E1's a good ordeal, and I can get more specific later on when why I don't like this system being so many on one common force main. Anyway, and even on this one illustration, it shows the two houses going to gravity sewer. I understand gravity sewer is not an option in Deltaville. But what is an option in Deltaville is HRSD. HRSD wouldn't touch operating the system. You see when a lot of this stuff, HRSD is going to operate it. HRSD is going to operate it. HRSD is going to operate it. When it gets to Deltaville and we decide to go with this system, HRSD won't have anything to do with it. There's a reason for that. And I'll just leave it at that. See if there's anything else I have to ask about here.
And I would just confirm that, Bill, HRC does not maintain LPS systems
Correct.
unless it's I think they may have an exception to some, very few, but they will not maintain low pressure systems. It's my understanding. They had
Yes,
discussed
that's
possibly
correct.
changing that
But
policy,
they,
but I don't
but
think
they
have.
will, but they do a vacuum system, which would work in Deltaville, which they would own and operate and so on and so on.
HRC does currently operate the own and operate the vacuum system in Matthews. And I think they've dialed that technology in down there and it'll work pretty good. for them.
Yes, I think they've got it down now. Yes. That's all that I have.
Go ahead, continue, Ken, please.
That's all I got. I'll open it up for questions, and
Okay.
if there are any other questions, I'd be glad to try and entertain them.
I would say we'll probably have more questions after we have our work session on the 27th. We'll have a little better idea of direction then.
Okay.
Okay,
And just to reiterate, if the board comes up with any questions they want to ask in between now and then, we can get that information to Ken, or I think many of y'all have his contact information directly. We're happy to coordinate that.
correct. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Ken,
your
thank you
time.
for coming up and going through it with us. Thank you.
Excuse me?
Thank you for coming back.
Oh,
up and
yeah,
going through it with
absolutely.
us.
I'll do whatever y'all need. Thanks.
Pardon the shuffle, gentlemen, but I used to be able to control the screen from up there, but they put me in a box. And so I'll come over here because I may need to point this. My discussion. Mr. Chairman, if you're ready, I can.
I am ready.
All right, very good.
Continue.
So I wanted to give a little bit more information regarding some of the budget stuff. And I know flashbacks to the spring, gentlemen, but bear with me. We covered some of this in our work sessions back in spring with the budget. Currently, we have the Cook's Corner collection system that you notice on the slide, which is largely complete. The loan was for $4.6 million. These are all clean water revolving loan funds, by the way. And we have this plugged in for an amortization schedule just for planning purposes and budget purposes. Cook's Corner system was a gravity system. It has some gravity lines. It's my understanding as deep as 24 feet, maybe deeper. If Jay is still on or Sam, they could probably confirm that. One of the reasons the cost was as high, $300 per foot, I believe, was the unit bid cost, was the depth of the sewers there. And that was primarily just to get everything back to that one pump station. If you build multiple pump stations, you can go much shallower. But $4.6 million at 2.9%, that's a great rate. You'll notice that the clean water revolving loan rates as of July 30th, depending on your term, which I would imagine we would probably want a 30-year term, 3.2%. That reflects the interest rates going up in the intervening time. And that changes as market conditions, as the board is very aware. The Saluda system, we have a question mark beside the $1.8 million clean water revolving loan because we haven't closed on it yet. We won't know what the rate is unless you do. But we have been offered for our smaller loan, the $341,000 loan, a 0.5% interest rate. That's kind of considered almost like a grant. Won't call it principal forgiveness. It's just a very low interest rate for that smaller loan. We got that award letter several months back, and I think we shared it with the board then. So are your total loans there? One is a question mark. You don't know until you close. And then, of course, we have the $800,000 ARPA grant that adds up to, I think, cover the project cost in Saluda if it goes forward. Now, the topping system is paused, and if I may just elaborate briefly on that, it's pretty much paused indefinitely until HRSD can move forward with the interceptor main. Why is that? Because the topping, Hartfield, and Deltaville systems all depend upon the interceptor main being deployed by HRSD for their treatment. We haven't explored for over 10 years any potential treatment alternative to treat it through like a dispersion treatment plant or anything like that. So all of those systems depend on that interceptor main for conveyance and treatment. Yes, Bill?
When you also say it's safe to say that the topping area is going to be contingent on having more flow, because if we don't have some larger flow, we're not going to have enough to keep the lines to make it all the way up.
That's correct. That's a very, very astute observation. The topping system also initiated because there was a need from the campground. And the campground, when this project first started, had desires to expand. They had some existing drain field issues that they took care of, but this project has kind of lagged a little in terms of the number of years it's taken to get to this point. And then to have the bids come in so high, the campgrounds couldn't wait. They've since started deploying new drain fields. A great cost to the campground. So we don't know for sure whether the campground would want to connect anytime soon anyway. I've reached out to them on a couple of occasions to get clarity on that point. So again, just more for the public here today, the topping, Hartfield, and Deltaville systems are on pause pretty much indefinitely until HRSD can bid that interceptor main and find a way forward on that, unless the board wanted to consider treatment alternatives. And I would highly recommend we not get into the sewer treatment game. We don't have the staff or expertise for that.
Middlesex can't afford to build a treatment plant.
That's correct. Treatment plants are very costly. We're very happy to have our big brother HRSD to handle all that treatment at their very expensive treatment plant, preferably down in York County. So that's a kind of a quick review of where we are. And I can come back to that slide if there are any questions. But I want to focus a little bit on the topping Hartfield and Deltaville systems. We've been very successful, and DEQ has been a very strong partner getting us the funding and getting us the revolving loan approvals, and of course the ARPA grant. Very supportive partner on the project. But these three highlighted revolving loan funds, I am asking for authorization to release our allotment of those funds, because I feel very strongly and passionately that if we do move forward, say for instance, HRSD bids the interceptor main out in 3 years, and all of a sudden we need revolving loan money again because the board's elected to move forward with those projects, we could do so. And I think I'm very confident in reporting to the board, we would be successful in new clean water revolving loan applications. The reason why we would want to consider releasing those monies, one, they can only be used for those projects under the terms we applied for them. And perhaps more importantly, knowing that we're not going to be using those monies, there are other communities in the state of Virginia that we beat out for that allocation. So the longer we hold on to the $13.5 million approximately for Deltaville, there are communities out there that we beat out that need that money and have shovel-ready projects and would want to proceed. So I am asking for board authorization to release those funds. If you decide to do so tonight, fine, or if you want to wait until August work session for further deliberation, you can. Just without that interceptor main, those projects can't really move forward.
It's my understanding that at least by the first of the year, HRSD probably will have their plan together, what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Is there any advantage to us holding on to those funds until they make their final decision?
I honestly see none. And it's the confidence that I have that if we reapply, we'll be awarded funds. I see really no way these projects are going to be moving forward in the next 3 to 5 years. And if they do, we can reapply. And I have a great degree of confidence we'd be successful in winning those funds back. Yep. And or getting a better deal. I discussed it briefly with DEQ. Well, not briefly. I don't discuss things briefly with DEQ. No one does. But if we were to reapply, one of the suggestions I had from DEQ staff is consider applying for one loan as opposed to project specific. We may get better terms on a package loan that covers, say, Hartfield and Topping, for instance, as opposed to just separating them out into smaller loans. That's just one suggestion. Also, the question was asked earlier. The citizens want to know what the cumulative expenditures have been. That's how I refer to it. By our calculation, including the money that was spent last year in 2024, we're up to $1.7 million on the project so far.
And $1 million of that went to?
$1.7 million. Most of that went to Timmons either for planning or design work and PER work.
Stated $1 million so far, so, okay.
Yeah, well, that's according to Anne Marie and my math, so we can double check it.
And y'all do a good job.
Thank you. Yeah, we try, and we discussed this in a work session too regarding more of the capital improvement reserves that have been set aside consistently since 2019 that have helped build our fund balance for capital projects. One could say they were set aside for sewer specifically to offset sewer debt service costs in the future. But with projects on pause, and I think wisely so, we trimmed those monies back to balance this last year's budget. So currently, the set aside for sewer in the 2025 adopted budget is $215,000, down from the $1 million from last year. So with that being said, I'm gonna slow down and take a breath and see if y'all have any questions of me.
I don't know that we'd make the decision on turning that grant money back in today, but certainly it should be discussed at the August 27th meeting.
Yes, sir. I'll flag that. And then the last thing that I had just to report out was you heard Ken's presentation and HRSDs regarding the Saluda system. We still have approvals for that through DEQ. If the board wants to move forward, we'd have to do so very delicately to make sure that we don't overstress the existing capacity of the treatment plant behind the regional jail here in Saluda. And that's really all I have for tonight. Unless there's questions.
I think I'm good. Any
Okay.
other questions? Okay,
All
if
right.
not, let's move on. Matt, you still on the seat for Mid-Penn Economic Development District application? Okay.
Some of you may remember the original application that was put in by the PDC to have our area designated an economic development zone. This is kind of a, I won't say kind of, it's really a no-brainer for us. We supported it then. If we were approved, it would make our locality eligible for federal funding and different economic development incentives that may come along. If there are questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I highly recommend the board consider adopting the resolution and updating our support letter that went out back in, I guess, 2021. Federal regulations, federal bureaucracy, they want to make sure they have most current support letter and information in their packet they can. Information's in your packet. If you have any questions, I'm here.
It's two items there, support letter and resolution. Will the resolution suffice for the support or?
They've asked for both because they have a dated letter of support in their file. They'd asked for both. And I think we're on the cusp of approval for this, so I wouldn't want to leave it to chance. If the feds want more letters, I would give them more letters.
Okay, do we need a motion for?
Yes.
Both of them separately, or
You
can
can
we
do 'em
do
both
them
to-
together?
I think you can do them both together.
Attorney, Lewis, are you good with that? Okay, any questions? If not, it would be in order to make a motion for the support letter and the resolution R 2024-009 for the Middle Peninsula Economic Development District application.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution R 2024-009 and the letter of support for the Middle Peninsula Economic Development District application.
Thank you, Mr. Crittenden. Motion made
I'll second it.
and second by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye, motion is carried. Moving right along to item number C, Sun Tribe Amendment to the deed. Ms. Lewis, you're on the seat.
Yes, sir. And I've got Dave Kretz over there in case I need to tag team him as well. And a Sun Tribe representative, Taylor Brown, joined us as well, just in case there were any questions that myself and Mr. Kretz could not answer. So with that, gentlemen, you'll see in your packet on page 129, I have a cover memo. In short, you'll recall in December of 2023, Sun Tribe came before the board and asked for a utility easement across a portion of the county property down at the school complex at Locust Hill. What they're coming back to ask you for is to authorize an amended deed of easement. And the only change is an updated exhibit plat that now has meets and bounds. The easement has not increased in size. There have been no changes in the actual legal, the language of the deed of easement. The only change is to basically delete the previous Exhibit A and replace it, thank you, right there, with this new Exhibit A. Mr. Kretz and I reviewed this. We're in support of this. We believe that this updated plat is accurate to the best of our knowledge. And we believe it's a benefit to the county to have this information. It makes the easement area readily identifiable. As many of you know, Mr. Kretz is a retired surveyor. He has checked this. And I don't know if he has anything else to add. He's also vetted the legal description. And I've reviewed the language of the deed of easement. And so we're recommending approval. But I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And if there's something I can't answer, Mr. Brown is here as well to help us.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Any questions? And just for help on the motion, I guess the motion is the requested board action to amend the deed of easement to replace the original Exhibit A with the updated Exhibit A.
So I would just be seeking a motion from the board to authorize the chairman to sign the first amendment to the deed of easement between the county and Sun Tribe.
Wonderful.
I so move.
So moved by Mr. Jesse on the motion. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Crittenden. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Bill Harris,
I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye, motion is carried. All right, let's see. Item number D. Transfer of surplus vehicle to Middlesex County Public Schools. Dustin Harris, would you come forward, please? Would you raise your right hand?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, get a little comment here, a little fun somewhere.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead, sir. You have
Yes,
the
sir.
floor.
Yes, sir. So the school division is just asking, we had noticed what seemed to be a surplus pickup truck sitting at the soon to be sheriff's department. So we were required the availability of that to enter that into our inventory to be used as a service truck for our bus shop. Just to repurpose that and meet some of our needs that have been popping up as opposed to not justifying purchase of the new vehicle. So we would appreciate if you're able to turn that over to us, happy to meet any requirements that may be needed for that. But that would just allow us to kind of meet the needs of our fleet vehicles throughout the county.
One vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Harris? Dustin Harris.
I
A lot of Harrises around here. I'm not related to any of them.
Harris is everywhere.
All right, no question. If there's nothing on that, a motion would be in order to let the school have the vehicle.
Make a motion, transfer the vehicle to the school system.
Motion by Mr. Bill Harris. Need a second.
Okay, second. I'll second.
Second by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion? Before I call for the roll call, you need to stay a little longer. Are you planning to?
Yes, sir.
For the topic, I think that you're gonna bring up on the generator? Isn't that on the agenda?
I do not have a generator on this.
Is that not on the agenda?
I could piggyback on this and address it because we've had some discussions with Dustin about the generator.
I thought it was on the agenda. How did I miss that?
I think I may have wanted to cover it under my administrator's report, but that's okay.
Okay,
I mean, if it's okay, I'll do it right now.
well, let me
Yeah,
get,
I do have Little League practice at 6. So
So you want to do it now?
let me get the
Sure.
motion first. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion is
we
approved.
kindly thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Okay, do you want to?
I will, I'll
Slide that
start
in.
and I think Dustin can chime in as we go. I went down to the elementary school to take a look personally at this generator because I was like, I'm curious. Took some pictures of it and it definitely looks like a 1997 generator. It's pretty rusted and little history from what I understand, and I gleaned a lot of this from Dustin and Dave Lehman. Thank you both for helping out. The generator started its life, we think, at the regional jail. And then after 6 years of use at the regional jail, it was put in at the elementary school. I guess because the regional jail was buying a new one and we shipped it down to the elementary school when we built the elementary school. And I guess it's been there ever since.
Yes, sir.
The preliminary, and I had some high hopes that maybe we could put this on a trailer and haul it around and do a quick connect. I don't think this is a generator for that duty, based on some conversations I've had with Dustin and Dave. And I think Dustin's conversations with the people that you've met with. It's a very old generator. It's a very large one. It will cost quite a bit to put on a trailer and make mobile. Well, you need a trailer to haul it. And it may not be worth it to install permanently at a fixed location, given its age. Specifically what was addressed by the gentleman that you were dealing with the
There
generator.
were a couple of things. Yeah, there was,
Yeah.
and I'm no expert on it.
Well, neither one of us are.
So it's a single wall
Here we
thing,
go.
still on the generator, which does not meet code. There's some emissions issues that would not be good, and it's also not UL listed. So it's just it lacks in those areas.
I
as
think
today.
the guy said it belongs somewhere on a farm where it's allowed
Get
to
away.
be.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
How many hours were on it out of curiosity?
I've, Mr. Harris, I do not have that off my head. I could, I'm happy to email
Jesse,
that.
if you can't take an educated guess, that's fine. But if you
I
can-
no, I don't want to take an educated
Okay,
guess
that's
on it.
fine.
Yep, standby generator. So, it's operational currently for the upcoming weather as our shelter. But we've understood the need to kind of.
Is there a written protocol, how to maintain, take care of it, operate it during an emergency, how to shut it down and check the oil when it's been running for days on
We
end?
do have some preventative maintenance plans. Bay Diesel has also done the annual service on it, documented annual service. They came out and they've done everything.
But during a crisis where no one can move around
Sure.
and the shelter's being utilized and we've been without power for days on
Mm-hmm.
end, are there any procedures to be able to address the generator to maintain it? If you're going for so many days, it's gonna need the oil changed in it.
Sure.
It's gonna be properly shut down so that you can check the oil
Sure,
and so
sure.
forth and so on. Are there any procedures for that?
Not to my
written down?
knowledge, it's something we need to put in place.
Okay, you need some help out with that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
The one other tidbit that we found out was being that the age of the unit, parts will be very expensive if we have to go and replace them, like
Yeah.
$10,000-15,000.
Parts are obsolete, so they're having to retrofit, just kind of gut and retrofit a lot of things on there now, which is, much pricier.
So that's what we found out, gentlemen.
Do we need to take any action on that today? Okay, and I did find the information. It looks like it's equipment total at 90.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I don't have the number. I'd have been a little bit better prepared, but I don't have the numbers in front of me. The 90 was for the procurement of the actual equipment,
Right.
I believe with a 20,000 install cost. The mobilization.
22.8.
Okay, mobilization, putting it back on the pad and hooking up.
Okay.
There's a transfer switch in there too, wasn't there?
Yes, sir. 3 transfer switches.
How many?
3 transfer switches in the
Thank you.
the 375 generator. KW.
Okay, so so I assume that you would bring that to the next meeting for approval, correct?
Well, it's my understanding the Dustin and Dave were going, well, not Dave, but Dave helped get the grant, which by the way, thank you both for getting that grant
Sure.
on behalf of the county. It's excellent work from both of you. But it's my understanding that Dustin's going to procure that under a state contract or a source well agreement,
It was 2 parts to it. Yeah.
2 parts.
Yep.
And it really doesn't need board approval. It's under state contract.
Okay, wonderful.
That's my understanding.
Okay, that was kind of my understanding too,
Okay.
but I wanted to make sure we were all on the same song sheet.
Right.
Okay,
But we'll hopefully have a new generator
Yes,
at
we
our,
can go ahead and move forward with that. Given the lead time, we'll have a good generator at the county's emergency shelter. So,
okay. And we
but-
just trashing the old one,
Rest
correct?
assured. There's a credit they'll give towards the labor.
$1,500, I believe.
They'll
Okay.
take care of disposal, appropriate disposal, which I think, is worth its weight.
It
Great.
looks like from the paper, I'm sorry, Don.
Go ahead. No,
Looks like from the paperwork, it's bought through like a state contract.
Sourcewell and. state contract.
Sourcewell is for the equipment and then the,
So there was no requirement to get 3 bids.
Bay Power, well, not through Sourcewell's done that heavy lifting, so Sourcewell, I guess uses their buying power to go ahead and get the best prices on those equipment from whatever vendor.
And it's my understanding,
Looks like a
Sourcewell is
state
similar to a
contract
state
kind of thing,
contract, but
Yes,
and the new generator, will it be portable?
it will not.
Okay.
No, that's gonna be on that concrete pad and fixed in place.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Any other questions for Mr. Harris? Thank you for
I
being here.
appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank
Thanks.
you.
good work on the grant.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Deed of lease renewal, Heather Lewis and Matt Walker, VDH deed of lease.
Yes, so this is another item. I had
Okay.
Dave to support me on the other one. I got Matt here and I think Anne Marie as well.
Okay,
So this is kind of short and sweet. With our Virginia, VDH is our Virginia Department of Health. They lease a building from us down at Cook's Corner and they need to update their lease. We did this a couple years ago and but unfortunately VDH, they have a lot of what's the word? They change employees a lot at the Richmond office. And so unfortunately, they just never signed the lease amendment. So we need to do that. And the gist of it is the only change they're making is the rent will increase a very small nominal amount beginning in November 1 of 2024. The rent will go up each year. And again, it's a very de minimis amount because as this board will recall, the state requires you to provide a local match to your Virginia Department of Health. And so any substantial increase, you're just going to see in your own request. But with that, that is the only change. I reviewed this. There really isn't a lot of negotiation on the terms of the lease. The Attorney General's office drafts it for the Virginia Department of Health and kind of is what it is. So with that, gentlemen, I'm asking for authorization for, I'm not sure if it's the chairman. It would be the chairman to sign the lease. Or you could authorize Matt, but it's drafted to have the chairman sign. The second amendment to the deed of lease with the Department of Health. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
a motion would be in order. somebody that's not asleep? Come on, y'all gotta come on, get on, let's get going here.
Do you say you increased your rent a little bit too, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You increased the rent on the building? a little
Yes,
bit?
sir, we did. Yeah, the rent goes up. It's currently at 33,000. It's gonna go up to 35,000 and then it'll go up to 36,750. So it's a small amount, but it is increasing.
It's an
Yes,
increase.
yes, sir.
I move, you got the motion straight, I move.
Motion made by Mr. Williams, and we need a second.
I second it.
Second by Bill Harris. Any further discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Moving right along. Oh, my favorite person to grill. All right. Back to back, two things. Okay, Miss Anne Marie Riccardi. Purchase of a John Deere.
Good evening. Actually, it's two John Deeres. I'm pushing my luck on this one. The board
Maybe.
approved $25,000 this year to get a zero-turn mower for the facilities maintenance department. We did the research, we reviewed several models of Kubotas, John Deeres, as well as I think I looked up a Ferris and what else? A Bobcat and a Husqvarna. So I definitely looked up multiple types of John Deere mowers of zero-turn mowers. However, the best price, the most reasonable alternative was clearly the John Deere, which is at 16,790. It's a Z994R, and it's available here at the James River Equipment. And I say that is it buy board or Sourcewell? It was the Sourcewell pricing. We just discussed the Sourcewell pricing. Sourcewell is one of the many cooperative purchasing agreements that the county can use in addition to buy board and Omnia. So the pricing is a fixed price for governments. I also got the regular price. I also got multiple bids on that. Let's see, what else was I gonna say? But what I'm asking for is because this came under our budget of $25,000 is to allow us to replace this 7-year-old regular riding mower for about just under $3,500. I understand if you don't want to do that, but it would, right now, our current riding lawn mower, which is a 42-inch deck that is estimated 8 to 10 years old, it's in the shop because the deck fell off and it needs to be rewelded. So it goes through an awful lot. It goes through an awful lot for us. So if I could, I'm asking for one, definitely, as approved in the budget, the $790.42 John Deere Z7994 diesel lawnmower. And then if you would consider allowing us to spend almost $3,500 to purchase a regular John Deere riding mower X330. That is the extent of what I have to ask for.
Are we thinking at some time or another we'll eventually have all zero turns? 'Cause, I mean,
No, zero turns don't work, and apparently zero turns don't work in all circumstances, and
Okay.
they're also very expensive. So,
Okay.
and this is what they asked for. So that's what the staff asked for, the zero turn on the rider.
I'd say ask is an understatement. It was the one thing they begged us to do. And I'll go ahead and just say this. I think one of the lawnmowers caught on fire briefly,
Oh, yeah, there's that.
and there is that. It was the
a week
one
and a half
thing
ago.
that the maintenance department said, please put this in the budget for next year and get the board to allow us to do that. So I wanted to add that because Dwayne was, it was an ask, but more like, please consider doing it.
Any other questions?
I just got one question. That one was 17,000. That's not a zero turn.
Yes, I'm sorry, the 17,000 is a zero turn diesel.
What's the other one you want?
The other one is more like just a regular riding lawnmower that you drive. You sit on and ride. Yeah, no lawnmower, just like you would have in your backyard or whatever.
Maybe they need a push mower, cut the grass out there.
If you would like to add that in, I would be happy to add that in as a suggestion.
You know, they might need a push mower to cut the grass right out in the courtyard, because It ain't getting cut, it need cut down. So, but,
So your budgeted item is already in the budget.
Yep.
And you're asking for the 3,500 thereabouts, 3,495. I'm just gonna say it's 4. And for the additional more, correct?
That's what I'm asking for. Yes, I'm asking for approval to purchase both of those.
is that a commercial mall or just?
The 3,400, it is not residential. So the big one is
It is
the 7994R is a commercial mode.
Yes,
So the other one is just a regular mall.
that's correct.
That's too much for that mall.
Well, I didn't get I did not replace it with a small mower. Yeah, I will upgrade it. Yep.
Motion?
I make a motion to
Thank you.
approve for the two mowers.
I second
Motion
that.
by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Crittenden. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yeah.
Mr. Bill Harris,
You gonna get any John Deere hats or anything? Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's carried.
Our facilities staff, thanks you very much.
All right. What else you got?
This next item up is the Buddy Park contract. The Board of Supervisors is asked to authorize the county administrator to sign a contract or purchase order with Superior Recreational Products for construction of their Chesapeake Bay Playground at Cook's Corner for a price of about 36 cents under $300,000, as I was directed. As you may recall, last board meeting, I presented a picture of a park that was designed by Max Fit Play to be placed over at Cook's Corner. The board agreed with the two options that this was their preferred option. The price exceeded the budget of $250,000 due to a last minute addition of the poured in place base, which is a safety issue in lieu of the playground mulch. The board at that time did not approve the requested price of $316,000 and advised staff to bring back a contract for $300,000. Since that meeting, the contractor was able to reduce the price by just over $5,000 by finalizing a quote with the poured in place vendor to bring the price to just under $300,000. The decorative educational boards and the sign language board totaling $5,820 have been removed, and the sideboards of the fish sack, it's easy for me to say, along with its decorative feature were removed for about $6,250. Hence, we now have a price of under $300,000. And ergo, I am requesting approval of this. When would they start? I know that's on the edge of everybody's seat. They could start probably the beginning of next month, but we probably wouldn't get a project in place until the end of November.
So the 316,000, you were able to get that knocked down $5,000 and we would get everything that was presented.
Mhm.
Go lower than that, they take away a couple items.
That is
Okay.
correct. Oh, by the way,
thought you-
at this time, before we go any further, I would like to note that Greg Chambers of the Kiwanis, he was a key participant in making sure that we got 50,000. He is present. I don't know if he has anything to add, but he was key in the county getting $50,000 from the River County's Community Foundation. So I wanted to make sure that he was recognized for his work in that. Yeah, that was it.
That's
You guys buy the fish. For the 311.
And I concur.
All right. Motion.
Who was on the committee? Was that somebody on?
So
the board?
what are you, which one are you asking for now? Which one you?
The board asked me to bring forth a contract for under $300,000. That is in front of you. However, if the board wishes to please me no end, me and Greg, it would be for $311,000 to include the sign language boards, the decorative educational boards, and the sideboards of the fish with its decorative fish.
And where does it fit?
Started this whole thing by a woman that wanted us to have accessibility.
And I'd like to point out that the decorative educational boards and the sign language boards do meet the special needs features of this park by approaching an audience other than a child who can just play normally. So
So, go ahead.
Is this a turnkey job?
Oh, yes, sir. This is
Yes, sir.
turnkey.
That means somebody got to put electricity out there.
There's no electricity.
I didn't see anything with electricity.
There's no electricity.
No electricity.
No, no, I think we got to put it.
No.
Mr.
Is this
Chairman,
project gonna need electricity?
No, sir. There is no electricity involved in this project. It's a playground.
So, like I stated last time, we wanted the Cadillac of the thing for 300,000. Basically, you were able to get us the Cadillac for 311,000.
Yes, sir.
Anything?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure. County Attorney has a question, please.
I just, Anne Marie, thank you so much for that and the effort of your committee and working on that. It's a really exciting design. Does that, I mean that genuinely, I think that's really cool. I don't know of other places that have that customized park like that. Does that include the sunshade?
There are no sunshades.
There's
We'll
no-
probably have to reevaluate that in the future as we expand the park. I think that sunshades, and in fact, I'll probably be looking, maybe the Kiwanis or somebody else can at least do something additional, that would just include that. Sorry for.
We'll just
did you
play
get
that
me
at
in
Greg's
here?
speed as well, yeah. Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure on that, but it did require, I mean, as part of it, you said that he did have to remove some of the decorative features, or are you saying Greg's able to now cover that? I couldn't.
No,
couldn't
no,
quite hear you.
the 311,000, if the board approved a contract right now for 311 instead of the approved, and again, I get it. You said 300,000, we definitely would do that. But if they did want to go with the 311, we would also get the sign language board, the sideboards for the fish shack, decorative features, and the educational boards.
What we're leaving off?
The
It was 370.
317.
She got us $5,000 off of everything.
Right.
So she
Off
got
the
it down to
370,
she
right.
negotiated for us and saved the county $5,000 of the month.
But it was 370.
No, so it was 317, 317.
Okay, I got the number.
So the motion, we'll need a motion and it'll be for whatever you want to do or
You got any
the
comments? You got
311
any comments on what you?
with the add-ons.
Maybe, I apologize. It's a little difficult to hear.
Yeah.
I apologize. The screen blocks you between you and Mr. Harris. I've been like trying to hear very closely, but maybe you could say it just one more
Because you've
time.
got the air conditioning on so low, you can't hear me with the AC.
We turned it up. We turned it up. Okay, so maybe I just want to make sure I heard correctly and because I know Mr. Jesse and I both were trying to hear. You're saying if we did say it again, if they do under the 300,000, then there are things that are not included, there's some decorative things, but if they did the 311, they did
Correct.
Could you say that one more time?
Yes,
Thank
if you do $300,000, we are missing the decorative features and the educational panels. If you do 311,000, the decorative features are added back in as well as the educational boards. Now, that being said, regardless, it's a beautiful park. So.
Right. Okay, so if y'all all got that, we need a motion.
So moved.
For what?
320,000.
There you go. Sold to the lady.
With
That ain't
the
hard.
20, I can get the little spring. I can buy more.
All you do is get a second to get the sunshade.
So
Excited about the
if
park.
311 is your,
No, it was 316, I think.
311 is the good price.
For 300.
motion's being made by Mr. Williams for 311,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Jesse. Thank you both very much. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
See, I wouldn't have pressed you if I didn't think you could do it. You know,
Took years
But
off
I
my
would-
life.
For your confidence.
but I would say this. Thank you very much for getting what we needed to get and the committee that helped
Yeah.
you. Y'all did a great job and sorry I put you through a little extra squirming there, but you got it done. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Pretty impressive.
My pleasure.
Roll call, please, on the motion.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye, motion is carried.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm still on.
Mr. Chairman, can we have a quick 5-minute recess just to use the, real quick, and I'll try turning the air up so it's not freezing everybody off.
We're actually pretty close to 6 o'clock. If you wanted to recess briefly and then reconvene in closed session or however, because we got a 7 o'clock public hearing
Oh,
and that closed session is likely to take an hour.
Oh, no, I'll
Um,
leave that to y'all to decide. I just was gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so close.
Let's take a recess and go into closed session, and for the public, we'll reconvene at 7. Correct?
And pick up where we left off on the agenda.
Correct.
Yeah,
We'll
we have
start
a
with the
public hearing.
public hearing when we come back.
Have the public hearing and then you'll resume the rest of your daytime agenda. Do you anticipate taking action after your closed session?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So with that, the board needs a motion to convene and close session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A3 and A8. This is for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of real properties for public purposes where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position and the negotiating strategy of this public body, and to consult with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters involving the acquisition of said properties.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Jesse,
Second.
second by Mr. Crittenden. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye. Motion is approved, and we're going to move into closed session.
And I believe the board has dinner waiting for them around